A new AEW television with Warner Bros. Discovery is expected to be announced soon following the ending of AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. Details on when we can expect an announcement regarding that. Plus, former Fightful podcast host and contributor Will Washington is All Elite after he has signed with All Elite Wrestling. MJF's AEW World Championship match has been made official for Double or Nothing, and it is indeed going to be a four-way. A tag team title match has also been announced for Double or Nothing. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn win a Trios Battle Royale on Dynamite last night. Speaking of trios, the current reigning AEW Trios World Champions, the House of Black, have issued an interesting open challenge. Hikarushida makes her return to AEW television last night. Orange Cassidy will be defending the international title next week on Dynamite 2. A special start time for this week's edition, once again, of AEW Rampage, and Stokely Hathaway talks about the firm's ever-changing creative plans. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about the future of AEW television, and it looks very, very promising indeed for Tony Khan's company. Things are happening, certainly, by bunches in AEW right now, it must be said. We did cover this yesterday when it comes to AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation appearing to come to an end. We spoke a lot in depth about that in yesterday's video, so be sure to check that out. In addition to that, obviously, tickets are moving very quickly for AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium this coming August. Over 40,000 tickets have already been sold, nearing halfway there to half capacity for the 90,000 capacity stadium. In addition to that, former two-time AEW World Champion CM Punk is reportedly set to return to the promotion in June for an alleged new TV show titled AEW Collision, which is part of the reason as to why AEW Dark and Dark Elevation have reportedly been cancelled, because AEW programming, specifically the TV shows, not including Ring of Honor, but AEW programming is reportedly set to become exclusive to Warner Bros. Discovery stations, that being TNT, TBS, possibly True TV, who knows what else they're going to do in the future. And with Collision comes some more good news. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that an altered version of AEW's current TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, or possibly even a brand new deal altogether, is expected to be announced in some time later on this month, or at some time this month certainly. A date very much to look for and possibly pencil in regarding this announcement of a new TV deal, and certainly the announcement of Collision as an AEW property and possibly even CM Punk's return, is May 17. This is when Warner Bros. Discovery will hold its annual upfront, and a lot of people are expecting that Warner Bros. Discovery will have a heavy AEW presence there, and that's where they will announce that Collision is coming this June. The Saturday show that's going to be on TNT, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m, similar star power certainly as AEW Dynamite. A brand split, a soft one, a hard one, we don't know, but CM Punk will be front and center when it comes to that. And some are expecting that as part of the announcement of announcing AEW Collision, they might even confirm that CM Punk is on his way back to AEW programming as well. So a new TV deal reportedly on the horizon, or at the very least an altered one as negotiations continue, but it looks more and more likely that indeed AEW is going to be sticking around when it comes to Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, this is a fantastic story and a really exciting one. Will Washington has officially put pen to paper and is now part of All Elite Wrestling. AEW President Tony Khan took to his Twitter account to announce the news ahead of last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. Khan said, quote, "He's the new AEW Wrestling Administration Coordinator, working in many areas of wrestling, live events, social media, creative, PR. He has a great wrestling mind, and he's here backstage tonight at Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite live on TBS, and it's official. Will Washington is All Elite." Now, his former employers, Fightful, provided a bit more details as to his role in All Elite Wrestling, as well as trying to, I guess, give a bit more clarity on the relationship now between Fightful, Will Washington, and AEW. How is that all going to work? Sean Ross Sapp indeed broke the story last night, saying that Rhapsody and Fightful's Will Washington has signed with All Elite Wrestling and will indeed be joining the company. Washington has finished up his podcasting duties with Fightful and has started traveling with the AEW brand and is in town for the May 3rd show, that being last night's edition of Dynamite. Washington will be serving as Director of Wrestling Administration for the company, which is a different title to what Tony Khan said. Nevertheless, some talent were told of the move on the April 26 AEW Dynamite after a deal was agreed in the week prior. Among the duties Washington will be helping with are overseeing continuity and aiding in long-term creative, working directly with AEW CEO Tony Khan. He will also be contributing to live events, social media, and PR. Washington's deal was official on Thursday, April 27, just ahead of his last day after Dynamite broadcast, which of course was a Fightful property. Washington is one of the first wrestling podcasters in the space and has done over 1,000 broadcasts over 18 consecutive years of podcasting. As a result of Washington's new role with All Elite Wrestling, his time at Fightful will be coming to an end, both as a podcaster and contributor on exclusive news. Fightful have noted that he is contractually prohibited from contributing news, as that would be a conflict of interest. They also go on to say they would like to thank Will Washington for his over 100 plus podcasts and incredible contributions to Fightful, which have been unmatched. They say they're very proud of him for taking this next step. He will always remain a member of the Fightful family. Grapsody is going to continue with Righteous Reg and Phil Lindsay at noon Eastern on Saturdays at Fightful. So if you are a fan of that show's not going anywhere. But again, certainly big news for AEW, big news for Will Washington, and big news, to be honest, from this space that, you know, it can lead to going into companies or whatever. So really excited to see what Will Washington does in All Elite Wrestling, and congratulations on the new job, and hopefully it all goes well for him. Certainly, best of luck, Will. Now let's switch gears and talk about AEW Dynamite's last night. Following the main event of Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite, Maxwell Jacob Friedman's AEW World Championship defense for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view is official. It will be MJF facing off against Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara in a four-way match. The match came about after MJF and Guevara lost to Darby Allin and Perry in a tag team match on Dynamite. The match has been speculated as Double or Nothing's main event, going as far back as the March 15 episode of Dynamite during MJF's Rebar Mitzvah celebration. During the segment, the champion was interrupted by Guevara, Allin, and Perry, who each made their case as to why they should be next in line to challenge MJF. In the following weeks, ante was built up until 2 weeks ago when a Four Pillars tournament was set up between Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Perry to decide one challenger. The tournament saw Guevara ultimately come out on top due to MJF's interference, with MJF having paid Guevara in storyline to eat the pin at Double or Nothing. But Wednesday night's tag team match was set up with the stipulation that if Perry and Allin could win, they would be added to the match at Double or Nothing. With the four-way match officially set up, it will mark the first time the AEW World Championship will be decided in a four-way match. It's only the second time the title has been decided outside of a one-on-one scenario, with the first being at Double or Nothing 2 years ago when Kenny Omega defended against Orange Cassidy and Pac. Of course, Omega retained the title in that instance. Who do you think is going to win the championship or hold on to the championship in the case of MJF at Double or Nothing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Another title match has been announced also for Double or Nothing. A major challenge was issued on AEW Dynamite at the Briscoe family farm as Papa Briscoe made his AEW debut. Pledging their allegiance to Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal with Satnam Singh and Sonjay Dutt in tow arrived on the Briscoe family farm to help out with chores. Despite the outdoor work and childcare, Papa Briscoe made his AEW debut, appearing to warn Mark about trusting the squad of goofballs. In the segment, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal issued a challenge to FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championships at Double or Nothing. While the challenge was not confirmed, it was confirmed that fans would hear from FTR on next week's edition of Dynamite, but certainly it looks very, very likely, doesn't it, that we're going to be seeing this tag team match happen rather at Double or Nothing. Howard and Wheeler have yet to defend the AEW World Tag Team title since winning them from the Guns in a match on the April 5th episode of Dynamite. Lethal and Jarrett have failed to capture the AEW World Tag Team Championships on numerous occasions throughout 2023. Most recently, the two challenged for the bouts in a four-way tag team match at AEW Revolution that included the Acclaimed, Orange Cassidy, and Danhausen, and the Guns. So again, it looks like this match is indeed going to happen at AEW Double or Nothing, although it's not officially confirmed yet, but it's probably going to happen, isn't it? The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, maybe they have titles in their future, but not the AEW Tag Team titles. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass won the Tres de Mayo Trios Battle Royale on Dynamite last night. The match was won by the trio after Daddy Ass and Anthony Bowens eliminated The Butcher and Kip Sabian respectively. Other trios that were included in the match include QTV, that being QT Marshall, Powerhouse Hobbs and Aaron Solo, El Hijo del Vikingo and the Lucha Brothers, the Dark Order, which was comprised of John Silver, Alex Reynolds and Evil Uno, and Tony Nese, Ari Daivari and Josh Woods. It is currently unknown what the Acclaimed will receive for winning the bout. Before the match began, the House of Black seemingly issued an open challenge for the AEW World Trios Championships we'll get to in just a second. The House of Black won the Trios titles back at the Revolution pay-per-view after defeating the Elite. So, it looks like we could be building up possibly to the Acclaimed versus the House of Black at Double or Nothing. And the House of Black, they've issued an interesting open challenge when it comes to the Trios World Championships. The AEW World Trios Champions, the House of Black, appeared on last night's AEW Dynamite and announced a new open challenge. Dubbing it the Open House, House of Black noted they were willing to meet any three comers from anywhere, but with some important rules. With Julia Hart assisting in laying out the terms, champions Malachi Black, Brody King and Buddy Matthews all took turns with a menacing aspect of the announcement. The Open House rules were as follows: 20-second count-out rule, so there was nowhere for the opponents to run, as well as no rope break, so they have no choice but to fight. Finally, disqualification would be enforced, but the challengers would have a fair fight ensured by being able to select their own stipulation. Perhaps the first up for the House of Black's Open House Challenge. Maybe it might be the winners of that Trios Battle Royale last night. Maybe it will be the Acclaimed versus the House of Black. The question is this going to happen on an upcoming episode of Dynamite, or will we have to wait for Double or Nothing to see this championship match? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Hikarushida is back on AEW television. The Outcasts were hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, whatever the verbiage. Hikarushida got the better of the dastardly trio on this week's AEW Dynamite when she returned to AEW programming for the first time since December. After a match between the Outcasts Saraya and Willow Nightingale, Shida arrived on the scene to seemingly help the Outcasts attack Nightingale, but Shida double-crossed the Outcasts, helping AEW Originals Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter get the upper hand on the faction, with Shida spraying the Outcast in the eyes with spray paint, attacking the trio with a kendo stick, and spray painting the letters AEW on Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Toni Storm. Shida last wrestled on Dynamite during the Holiday Bash episode on December 21st of last year in a losing effort against Jamie Hayter. Shida was proud of competing in a main event title match on the show, but was ultimately disappointed by the loss. It was this loss to Hayter that made the Outcasts initially believe that Shida might be on their side during her return Wednesday night. Shida signed with AEW shortly after its founding in 2019 and is a former AEW Women's World Champion, holding the title for a record-setting 372 days before eventually losing the title to Baker. Shida was busy during her time away from AEW, defending her International Ribbon Tag Team Championship alongside Ibuki Hoshi in Ice Ribbon, and also defending her Regina D-Wave Championship in Wave. Both promotions are based in her homeland of Japan, so maybe we're going to see some kind of six-person tag team match, trios match in the future, or maybe at Double or Nothing as well. It's a big show next week for AEW Dynamite, but we're going to have title action too. Orange Cassidy is scheduled to defend his AEW International Championship against the Jericho Appreciation Society's Daniel Garcia next week. The match was confirmed following the victory of Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Bandido over the Jericho Appreciation Society on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. The match will mark Cassidy's 21st defense of the AEW International Championship, which he has rapidly racked up defenses of throughout the months since defeating Pac for the title last October. The last defense Cassidy had of the title was on last week's episode of Dynamite against one of his partners from last night, Bandido. Cassidy's impressive 20 defenses thus far have been against the likes of Roosh, Buddy Matthews, Shibata, Trent Seven, Wheeler Yuta, and Big Bill, among many others. The title was introduced by AEW last year as the AEW All-Atlantic Championship before it was rechristened the International Championship in March. His 20 title defenses are only matched within the company by Jade Cargill's 22 defenses of the TBS Championship, a number Cassidy could soon find himself closing in on if he defeats Garcia next Wednesday. He is also closing in on 200 days as the champion. Next week's Dynamite, of course, has another huge match set already. Last week it was announced that Kenny Omega would be facing off against the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley inside of a steel cage. Speculation has built that the Elite and the BCC could eventually face off in a blood and guts match, but any potential tag team matches could currently be put off due to the Elite's Matt Jackson currently working through a bicep injury which he is actively rehabbing. So big matches certainly set for next week's episode on TBS. Let's talk about AEW Rampage this week, and once again it's going to start at a special start time. A special early start time for this week's edition of AEW Rampage was announced last night for the upcoming episode on Friday. This week's Rampage will air at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time and 6:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT. Continued rumors persist that an announcement is coming soon regarding AEW on television, namely there will be a Saturday evening show on TNT headed up by CM Punk. So certainly again it's going to be really interesting to see how AEW Collision manages all of these preemptions that are just part of being on TNT at the moment. As for what we can expect for the May 5th episode of AEW Rampage, first Mark Briscoe will take on Preston Vance in singles action. This will be Briscoe's first match in AEW since the April 14 episode of AEW Rampage. Also, a big trios match will go down as El Hijo del Vikingo will team up with the Lucha Brothers, that being Penta, Alzera Miedo, and Rey Fenix to face Powerhouse Hobbs, QT Marshall, and Aaron Solo. Furthermore, TBS champion Jade Cargill will be in action. As previously announced, the firm deletion match will go down from the Hardy family compound as well, which is Jeff Hardy's return to competition. Not in-ring competition, but his return to action for the first time since he's returned to AEW a few weeks ago. Finally, Stokely Hathaway has opened up about the ever-changing creative plans for the firm in All Elite Wrestling. Ahead of potentially being deleted entirely, that being this coming Friday on AEW Rampage, Stokely Hathaway spoke to Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho recently about the creative planning behind the faction The Firm. In discussing the changing plans around the role of the firm, MJF's faction on retainer that had debuted at All Out, Hathaway shared how he tried to stay positive rather than see their group as getting left out in the cold after the Brawl Out debacle clearly changed creative plans. Hathaway said, quote, "I guess I didn't view it that way because I'm trying to get into the habit of looking at things from a positive perspective. Regardless of who was in that position, the idea was that to go after the world champion, so we had that opportunity. It obviously didn't turn out the way most of us wanted it to, but it was still an avenue to get things going." Elsewhere in the conversation, Hathaway also reflected on the initial promo segment introducing the firm, showing that he personally deemed it too long despite him keeping it shorter than the time allotted. Hathaway concluded, quote, "Looking back on it, I probably should have kept it to the essentials of 3 bullet points, but hindsight is 20/20. While it's possible that some faction of hired goons for MJF could make the return in the future, it likely won't be called the firm anymore, as the faction is very likely set for deletion." Of course, that's coming on this Friday's edition of Rampage, as I mentioned, in the firm deletion match. So there you go, guys. The latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.